Hello and welcome to another episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with River Brown and Jack Barteck, and this is episode 33. In today's episode, we're going to talk about Trevor Lawrence, the Browns, Nick Foles and the Bears, Aaron Rodgers, the Buccaneers, the best undefeated team, and our picks for week 7 of the NFL.
Didn't I tell you about saying my full government on the show?
No, you haven't told me in the last few episodes.
That's because I just peeped you keep doing it.
The Jets lost.
Duh.
0-6 now.
What else is new?
0-6?
Yeah.
Damn.
We should just put a button in on. You could just record the Jets lost, so you don't have to say it every week. You
The
can just
Jets
press
lost.
the button.
That's actually a good idea.
I'm convinced.
No, because you're gonna lose every week.
I'm convinced. Actually, I'm not kidding. I'm not trying to tell a joke, make you laugh, anything. I'm dead serious about this. I think that Adam Gase is going to remain the coach the entire season because I think they are truly trying to guarantee an 0-16 season. Because I just don't see how it could even be possible that there's any other circumstance that he's still the head coach. I'm not even trying to be funny.
I don't even think
does that sound crazy?
fired.
I don't even think it's funny at this point watching you guys play.
And-
It's not funny.
They're in full tank mode. Le'Veon's gone. Jamal's gone. Steve McClendon traded now. I genuinely think the tank is in. We're in full tank mode.
You've been tanking for 10 years and then you re-tank
That's
again.
not true. That's not true.
That's
McCagnon
funny.
thought he was winning.
That's funny. You guys are crazy.
The good thing about it is that now the Jets are positioned to get Trevor Lawrence officially now,
But
because
the
we all
Giants
thought that the Jets were the worst team in football. They just weren't officially the worst team in football. But now we're gonna give our tanking for Trevor updated rankings. So it's weird because the Jets are 0-6. They're the only team that has not won a game yet. But there are there are 5 teams that have the same record that are 1-5. Washington's 1-5. The Giants are 1-5. Jaguars are 1-5. Falcons are 1-5, and the Vikings are 1-5. And Chargers and Miami also have 1 win each, but only 4 losses. And that pick is actually from Houston. Miami's pick is from Houston.
So they have their pick and Houston's?
Yeah.
Wow.
Miami's done a really nice job rebuilding.
Yeah.
On a side note.
Yeah,
they have.
that's what you call a good rebuild.
And even when they don't have talent, they try to win games.
They got a great coach.
That's what you're supposed to do.
They got a great coach. I think that Brian Flores has ascended into the great coach level. I think it's fair to call him a great coach this way. Even though they haven't had the success to back it up, I think it's fair to call him a great coach.
I definitely think for their expectations coming into the season and last year, he's definitely exceeded them.
They fight every week.
Because they were people said they were tanking last year, tanking for Tua. And even though they didn't get the number 1 pick, they still got Tua because of his injury.
Right.
And they competed.
But I don't know if I call him a great coach yet. I think he's a really good coach, and he's setting a good culture there.
He's ascending.
But we have to see still.
Yeah.
We
Gotta
have
win.
to see still.
I think that in the Trevor Lawrence race, I don't think anybody can touch the Jets. They are actually the worst football team I've ever watched.
No, I think so as well. I think the Jets are really bad. And look, these are their next 6 games. The Bills, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Chargers, Dolphins, and the Raiders. So there's a possibility they go 0-12 here.
What if you steal one against the Dolphins? Because I'm looking at the Giants' next 6 games. They got Philly, Bucks, Washington, Philly again, Bengals, Seattle. So
The thing is, I know the Jets are a really bad team, and Adam Gase is the worst coach in the NFL. But I don't even think with the new coach we'd win.
no.
The roster
The
is-
talent's
the
gone.
team is
There's
horrible.
no talent. There's no talent at all on this
It's
roster.
just Sam Darnold and a bunch of guys.
And you look at the Giants, and I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the Giants have at least been competitive in all of their games except for the 49ers. The 49ers was a blowout, and that was the last time you really saw the 49ers pseudo-healthy. Other than that, they've been in every game. Even Pittsburgh week 1, they
almost
lost
won.
by 10.
They almost beat Dallas.
Chicago was a great game without Saquon Barkley. The Rams, they had them on the ropes, I guess you could say. They almost beat Dallas last week, and then they beat Washington, who has also competed in what seems like every game.
So it sounds like the only team that's really just can't compete is you guys.
And it's been like there has not been a game that they've been in, I feel like. I mean, you could make an argument. Week 1, they were kind of in the game in the second half, but even when they were in the game still,
You knew you were going to lose.
exactly. There was no feeling of doubt.
Wait, versus the Bills?
Yeah.
I
Week
didn't
1.
honestly, bro.
Stop.
I didn't think the Jets had a chance in that game.
Oh.
No.
I thought you were gonna say-
even
I
even
agree.
watching it,
I agree.
I know the score looked closer, but
that's what
I
we
thought
say.
it was a
Yeah.
blowout.
Yeah,
though.
you're saying there's never a chance where you looked at the Jets game, you said, "Nah, we can win this game."
And the Giants, like, I'm talking about the Giants right now because I feel like they're the only team that's close to the Jets.
You think Washington isn't?
The
Because they're
thing
currently with the
Washington-
second. They have the second overall pick.
The thing with Washington is I feel like they're in more disarray than the Giants right now because I was going to say the Giants have a lot of stuff going for them. I think that Joe Judge has done a really nice job, like we mentioned, how the Dolphins did, building a culture. Even if the results aren't showing it, I feel like he's building something good there. The players seem to like him. Daniel Jones, although he's on and off, he can show you some really solid moments. And they have a nice offense when they can stay healthy. But the problem is
They
health.
can't stay healthy.
You never know who's going to be out there on any given week. Their defense is a whole nother story, but I feel like the Giants have bright spots. I have not seen that from the Jets at all this season.
People are talking about Trevor Lawrence sitting out or asking
Did you
for
see
a
him
trade.
play last week?
I
Was that
mean,
last-
this
Oh
weekend?
my God.
I didn't see him play, but I saw
He had
his stats.
400 yards
Yo.
and 5 touchdowns at halftime.
Like you had to watch. Like it was just like it was crazy. Like he's different. Like, it was
The
crazy.
thing about it is that I don't think that Trevor Lawrence asks for a trade or goes back to college just because the Jets have the number 1 overall pick. Especially if any team that he goes to in the top of the draft is going to be bad, regardless.
Yeah, and Dabo Sweeney even mentioned at his press conference, I think it was last week, that he's ready to do these things in New York. So I'm sure that's a conversation they've had.
Yeah, between the two
And
teams.
I'm sure he wouldn't be saying something like that if him and Trevor Lawrence didn't have that conversation and kind of know this is it. Like, I'm sure if there was any doubt, he wouldn't make a comment.
I think
like
he
that
knew
in the
for a
media.
while ago
Yeah,
though. Like this,
yeah.
this was it. His junior year, he wasn't gonna come back for his senior season. So I think he
And-
knows. He knows who he's
Yeah.
gonna go to.
And at the end of the day, you know, it's very easy to sit on your couch and say, oh, the Jets are terrible. He should stay back in college. But when you're in that situation and you're in college making nothing, literally zero, you're not allowed to make money.
Think about it though. Even if he does stay back, there's a possibility that you guys do the same thing you did the next
Exactly.
season and still be able to
Exactly.
get him. So
Exactly. And
it's looking like it's inevitable for him to go to the Jets. If not the Jets, probably maybe the Giants, maybe Washington. One of those 3 teams though.
And everybody brings up Eli as the situation. Oh, you never know. He might stay back. But that is the biggest exception from the rule.
John
in
Elway did it
history.
too.
You know, like it doesn't happen.
The thing about
that's
it-
2 guys out of how many people over the
Can
course
somebody
of
actually
NFL
explain
history?
the Eli situation?
He didn't want to go to San Diego, so he said he's literally not going to play for them, and they ended up trading him for Phillip Rivers.
For real?
Yeah, and that's why Rivers is he was on the Chargers and Eli went to the Giants. But that situation could only happen if you have 2 of the top quarterbacks and people are willing to trade a lot. Because the Broncos traded a lot for John Elway because John Elway refused to play for the Colts back in like 1986, I think. He was supposed to be the first overall pick, and he refused to play for them. But regardless, if a team is drafting one and they draft you, they own you. They
Right.
basically have your rights.
The fact that you can sit there and say I don't want to play for this team is ridiculous.
I just can't picture a world where he turns down the number 1 overall pick. Look at Tua, a situation where in 1 year, Tua went from being the greatest NFL prospect of all time to eventually he became the 5th overall pick. But when he had that hip injury, nobody knew what was going to happen. Nobody knew if he was going to be able to come back and play football. So that is a huge risk to go back and play college football for free again for a whole nother year, not knowing what might happen to you in that season.
I'm a Jets fan, so of course I want Trevor Lawrence to go to the team. But I look at these options, and I like him in Washington better. And actually the teams that are bad but are good, like the Falcons and the Vikings, the Vikings in a year, I think, or a year or two, they're going to be out of under Kirk Cousins' contract. If they can hopefully land a number 1 pick, or even the Falcons, that'd be huge.
Yeah, and I'm sure Trevor Lawrence has his fingers crossed open for that to happen, because you look at both of those situations are so much better. Just head coach alone, you have 2 proven guys there in
Dan Quinn got fired.
I was thinking Vikings and Washington was what I was thinking. Ron Rivera. I would love to play for Ron Rivera. I think he's a great coach.
I'm thinking the Atlanta one was good. Walking in, and the first guy you get to see in there is Matt Ryan, learning under him. That's looking like the best situation. And then you have Julio, who still has it. Calvin
Ridley.
Yeah.
I just hope that Trevor Lawrence to the Jets, I hope the Jets don't ruin him. Because the way this is trending, it looks really bad, especially what they did to Sam Darnold.
I think that the most important thing, even more important than getting the first overall pick, because even if you don't get Trevor Lawrence, there's other quarterbacks to be had out there. Even if you stick with Sam Darnold, the most important move of the offseason, because Adam Gase will not be around next year, I think that's written in stone at this point, is hitting on a head coach. And it's so important 2 years ago. We failed, and we went from what could have been a 10-6 playoff team last year to 7-9 and out of the playoffs, and now the worst team in maybe a decade in the NFL, and that's being generous.
I was just about to say that.
Because we failed on the head coaching pick. So I think you got to really this is going to be the move for Joe Douglas. And I know you're already low on him, and I have seen a lot of Jet fans turning sour towards him, which is understandable. And I think he knew that was coming.
It is.
But this head coaching pick will be his chance to turn around the perception on him. If he can get a guy like, just throwing out a couple of names that have become coaches in the past few years, Cliff Kingsbury, so somebody like that has had so much success. Matt Rule, who looks like he's doing a pretty good job down in Carolina. Sean McVay, Matt Nagy, so many good coaches that have come into the league the past few years into head coaching roles. If he could find somebody like that, if he could get a guy like Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City, who's helped run one of the most prolific offenses in football history, that can be the difference maker in turning around the next half a decade where he's under contract. You'd have 5 years of Trevor Lawrence under a rookie deal. That could be the move that changes everything.
I just finished watching Moneyball today.
The movie?
Great.
Yeah.
That's a
great.
This is the first time watching?
Yeah, it is actually.
Wow.
And after seeing what Billy Bean did
You're crazy.
with the Athletics, then I might have some hope. Maybe Joe Douglas has that type of situation. I don't know though. I'm not sold on Joe Douglas.
I don't blame you for not being sold on him.
We're not about to go back into this, guys.
I hope he proves me different.
I don't blame you for not being sold on him, but I would say at least give him until the coaching hire. And if he fails on the coaching hire, then I'll concede.
Look, man, the first thing he needs to do is convince ownership that we have to get new uniforms.
Yeah, those uniforms are terrible.
I like the uniforms.
The green ones?
I think the helmets are beautiful.
I think the uniforms are really ugly.
I think you're...
If we were winning, you probably would not be saying the same
I'm dead
thing.
serious.
I can't believe this is your first time watching Moneyball. Are you serious?
Yeah. Wow. Do you remember
It's a Brad Pitt classic.
when the uniforms leaked online and everybody was making fun of them?
On Twitter, we were destroying them.
And every Jets fan thought, "Oh, this can't be the uniforms. This can't be it. Oh, this is a lie." Like how Jamal Adams made a promo for the uniforms in a commercial where he's like opening up a box and then he's like, "Oh my god!" Like
I don't mind them. I think the helmets are beautiful, and I think that. Well, listen, I would watch them in garbage bags if they were going 10-6 every season.
I think this era for the Jets is the same era that the Bucks went through when they had the orange uniforms.
Oh, the creamsicles? Those are great.
But they were horrible with them, though. And at the time, everybody thought they were ugly.
And now look at them. Now everybody wants them back.
Yeah, I guess it goes in full circle. But that's tanking for Trevor rankings right now.
Go Jets.
I mean, I don't even think we
I
need
like
to
Washington. I really do like Washington.
I don't even think we need to do another segment for this because I feel like 6 weeks from now, the Jets are still going to be at the first pick.
They might not have a win by then.
Yeah, I don't think so. No, I think they're going 0-12.
If I was a betting man, I would say I would rather bet money on them going 0-16 than winning a game. Game.
If I was one of those guys that put big money, I'd put the big money on the Jets. Getting Trevor Lawrence. That'd be 100K, Jets.
And I'm sure Vegas has a line on that, and I would bet it would say the same
They have a
thing.
line on everything.
And Vegas never loses.
Talking about the Jets getting the number 1 pick. The Browns' number 1 pick, Baker Mayfield, plays for the Browns. They got blown out by the Steelers on Sunday. I think it was like 38-7, right?
38-7.
38-7. Are you buying or selling the Browns as a threat? Not a Super Bowl contender, just a threat. Which means a playoff win, maybe 2. That's about it.
I want to buy Brown stock so bad. But every time I stake a claim to them, they embarrass me. And I picked them last week on our pick.
You picked the Browns?
I picked the Browns over the Steelers last week.
Who did I pick?
And I'm pretty sure you had the same reaction.
I was here. I wasn't?
No.
We didn't just do a show. Oh, right. Okay.
When you were in Florida.
Yeah. Yo, don't be saying that out loud, man. Oh yeah, I forgot. I would have picked the Steelers though. Damn.
I just feel like every time we think they're headed in the right direction, they come out and they lay an egg like that. Granted, the Steelers are proving themselves to be a legit contender.
I think the Steelers are elite. I definitely think they're elite. I think they're elite.
They also didn't just lose to the Steelers, like they got embarrassed. 38-7, and Baker, listen, you could say he was banged up. They were trying to make sure that he was healthy. He got benched in the second half. That
the game was over.
The game was over, but that's also not a great sign of trust in your a third-year quarterback.
I don't know. Kyle Shanahan did that last week with Jimmy G.
Big Ben is 24-2 against the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, the Browns have sucked throughout his whole tenure in the league.
You know,
this is the first year they actually started, I think, 3-0 or 4-1.
3-1. It was 3-1.
3-1. Yeah, that's the first time. They went on 3-game.
I think the Browns will still get in the playoffs. Will they win a game? It always comes down to who they're going to play. I do like the Steelers, though. I think they're going to be the ones to win the division. And I feel like this game was just the Steelers just proving that they're the superior team. You know, their front seven dominated throughout the game, and we're starting to see that receiving core come into form. Chase Claypool, you got Juju, you got Deontay, what's the dude's name? Johnson?
Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, so you see this team starting to come into form, and we saw a glimpse of this last year. The team was good, but they just didn't have a quarterback, and they still proved to be formidable and almost making the playoffs, and now Big Ben is showing that he still can play at a good level. Now they have a quarterback, your defense is here, and now they're just showing what they would have shown last year, that they're still a really, really good team. And Cleveland is still young, has room to grow, and I think they'll still get in the playoffs. I don't know if they'll win a game. It just comes down to matchups, but I still think they'll get in, though.
With me, I think the Browns, this wasn't a testament to how good that they can be. It was just a bad game, and it happens sometimes. They were out Wyatt Teller, the best offensive guard probably in the league. He's their best offensive lineman this year. They were out from him. Carl Joseph was out. Ronnie Harrison was out. Both of them, they're both safeties who've been really good this year. But also, people are forgetting that this is Kevin Stefanski's first year with the Browns, and this is Baker's first year with this offense. I hate people that say,
"Oh wow!"
I hate people that say Baker Mayfield has digressed. He's not developing. How do you expect him to
like
develop?
His third head coach.
Yeah. You had Hugh Jackson, then they went to Freddie Kitchens later on. Or no, they went to Greg Williams later on in the year. They signed Freddie Kitchens.
Technically his fourth head coach.
They signed Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens was the coach for 1 year. He was horrible. He didn't develop Baker at all in his second year. To me, this year is basically Baker's second year that he's had a chance at an actual functional organization. His rookie year, his rookie year, they were amazing. Yeah, they're 4-2, but Baker hasn't played well. Like I don't think he's played well.
But he hasn't played well, and they're still 4-2. So if he gets it going, then they can still. And credit to he played a really great
2 out of
defense.
the 5 games. 2 out of the 5 games they've played, Baker has had no turnovers. 3 of the games, like 3 of the 5 games they played, he's had a turnover. And I think against the Colts he had 2 picks. And yesterday he had 2 picks. So he hasn't been playing well, but I think that's more of a bright side for the Browns than it is a downside. Because Baker Mayfield has a potential to play well, and it's their first year in the offense. their next 4 games are going to be pretty tough, though, because you got the Bengals, which I don't think
It's
that's a
no
cakewalk.
cakewalk.
They'll win that, but I don't think it's a cakewalk. They have the Raiders, which is hard. The Texans are going to always play well.
Especially without Bill O'Brien.
But even with Bill, Texans are one of those teams that always have a chance if it's not against an elite team.
Right.
Like if it's not against one of the Chiefs or the Ravens, they're always going to be in the game. The Eagles, the Jaguars, and the Titans.
That's no cakewalk. Philly.
Yeah, the only easy games they have left all season are Jacksonville and then the 2 New York teams. But then they also have Baltimore again to end the season. Pittsburgh again to end the season. They have Baltimore. They have, like you just mentioned, that whole stretch with Philly, Houston, Las Vegas, Cincinnati. Like, none of those games are going to be easy games. So I agree with you. Like, I'm not at all giving up on Baker Mayfield yet. I just think it's going to be a very tough time for them to get into the playoffs this year because I think that the Steelers and Ravens are 2 of the best teams in the league, and they're in the same division. And then beyond, so that's going to take up a wild card spot.
Well, 7.
One of those teams is
7
going to
can
get
in now.
Yeah, one of those 2 teams is going to get a wild card spot. And then you look around the league, it's starting to look like the AFC South might produce a wild card spot with the Titans and the Colts.
That's 2. That's 3 wild cards.
I think the last wild card spot will be between the Raiders, Colts, and Browns.
That's what it's looking like.
One of those matchups.
I
think the Browns.
I had
can make
Browns,
it.
Colts, Ravens running the last 3 spots.
Do you think the Patriots or Dolphins could make a late run at it? Just strictly speaking, divisionally.
Patriots, I think, can.
I have a question for you 2 young fellas. Because we were talking about on Friday how the Titans, you guys thought they were the second best team in the league. Do you think the Steelers in the AFC? Do you think the Steelers could possibly be in that conversation now that we see them play the Browns?
I think there's no doubt they're in the conversation.
Haven't played anybody good. They probably played Titans played the Bills. That was their first test.
I actually think the Steelers are the second best team in the AFC.
Steelers?
Well, I think undoubtedly the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC.
That wasn't even a question.
So that's number 1.
I would say those 3 teams are the top 3 right now.
You kind of have like a 3-dog race or a 4-dog race really for the 2 spot.
And they play soon too.
I would say 3. The Titans, the Steelers, and the Ravens you can make the case for. The Bills have an outside shot, but 2 weeks in a row now, the Bills have played a legit team and have not looked good.
That same team, the Chiefs, they played the Chiefs well. It was a good game. The Chiefs dominated the Ravens on Monday night.
Yeah.
Dominated them.
The Ravens have always had problems with the Chiefs, though. I'm not holding that against the Ravens.
With me, I feel like the Browns, when they face the Steelers and the Ravens again, is when I'll make a better guess about them.
Steelers
because we've seen it. Too. We've seen it. The Jets, back when they were good, when we got blown out by the Patriots, and then in the playoffs we beat them. I think it's all
you're
about.
Talking about 10 years ago?
Yeah, it's all about matchups and schematics to me.
Exactly.
So Kevin Stefanski, this is his first time seeing their scheme. He's probably going to adjust next game, and that's what I want to look forward to. It's just one game for me.
Yeah, and I think that just speaking on the number 2 team in the AFC, I think the Titans will look maybe the strongest in the AFC to finish the season because their division, I think, is the weakest, except maybe the Bills, and I think that the Bills have set themselves back with their last 2 losses. But speaking on the Browns, I think that they can be a playoff team this year. I don't know if they'll be a real contender just because, like you mentioned, Stefanski's first year, Baker's first year with him. And the biggest thing that concerns me with the Browns, especially after a tough loss to the Steelers, they have an explosive situation there. A lot of egos with, Odell, Baker Mayfield, Jarvis Landry, and you've seen problems there before. And I feel like every week we're talking about a new, is Odell Beckham going to want to trade? I'm not in the locker room. I can't say how much of an issue that is, but it can be a problem moving forward if they have more tough losses like this. And I know there was talk about Odell not being happy with his targets on Sunday.
Steelers' next 6 is Titans, Ravens, Cowboys, Bengals, Jaguars, and then Ravens again. So I think these next 3 games will really tell us what the Steelers are really about. That Titans game, I think, is going to be really interesting. Both teams undefeated. So we're going to really see what the Steelers are, how they're going to compete against the Titans and the Ravens.
But to answer the question, am I buying or selling the stock on the Browns? I've already was holding it and I'm going to still hold it. I'm not buying it. I'm not going to buy more of it. I'm not going to sit here and praise the Browns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to sit here and bash them either. I'm kind of neutral.
I've been a believer on the Browns. Like, I think that even if it's not this year, they can be a really good team with this core. But like you said, I'm not getting any more overly excited for them. But I'm also not going to stop believing in them. I definitely think that they can. Like, I don't think the nail is in the coffin on them this year just because they lost one game to the Steelers. I still think they could finish strong here. But I think that, I feel like we say this about every team, but these next few weeks are really going to tell us a lot about who they are as a team. And Stefanski as a coach. Is he going to be able to right the ship after a tough loss? I think that that's such an important thing for a young head coach to overcome.
And I agree with Joel. I'm not buying anymore. I'm neutral right now. I still think they're going to make the wild card.
If I had to say one or the other, I would probably sell, though, on this season. For the rest of this year, if I had to go one way or the other, I would sell just because there are more ingredients that tell me things would go wrong than to tell me they would go right. That doesn't mean that I don't believe they can turn it around.
The Browns' ceiling to me is winning one playoff game, depending on the matchup. I think if they face the Bills, they can beat them.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's a knock on the Browns.
Or the Raiders are one of those teams.
As much as it's to say that the AFC has been really good this year. And, 5 out of the 7 teams that make the playoffs in the AFC are going to be legitimate title contenders. It's just that all of them are going to have to go through the Chiefs, who I think we all agree are the best team in the league.
If the Browns have to face the Chiefs,
it's over.
The Steelers or Ravens, I think they lose. But I think they match up well with the Titans. They match up well with the Bills and any other team that is fighting for a wild card spot in the AFC. I think they match up well with all of them.
I agree.
The next couple of weeks are going to tell us a lot about the Browns. The team that's in that same boat is the Chicago Bears. Fool's Gold is the name of this topic.
You name that.
Foles,
don't try to make it seem like we all agree to that.
Are they Fool's Gold or are they Foles Gold? Foles Gold means they're for real.
Please tell them you made that up. Don't try to make it seem like we did that together. That was a you thing.
And their next 5 games are the Rams, Saints, Titans, Vikings, and Packers. So in the next 5 weeks, we're going to realize if they're really Foles Gold or they're not. And
we all know what you think.
We know what you think.
I think they're Foles Gold. And if you look at the stat sheet, because probably one of you guys' argument is going to talk to me about his stats and stuff,
Actually,
how they're subpar. I know they're not over the top. They're not electric. And I feel that's more due to Matt Nagy than it is to Nick Foles. Matt Nagy came in as a great offensive mind, right? But I think he's really underperformed and disappointed, and he actually almost cost them the game yesterday. I mean, Matt Nagy, okay, his first year in Chicago in 2018, they were 9th in offense.
Right.
Very next year, they were 29th in offense. And now this year, they're 27th in offense. So he's one of the bottom 20th. The Bears are one of the bottom 20th offensive teams, even though they have an offensive head coach. And last year, the blame was all on Mitchell Trubisky, right? But in 2018, Mitch made the Pro Bowl, and Matt Nagy got all the credit.
Mm-hmm.
And in 2019, Mitch regresses, and it's all on Mitch, and it has nothing to do with coach. And I feel like that's a little sketchy. I'm not a believer in Mitch, but I think Matt Nagy deserves some blame here for these offensive numbers not looking that good. But I'm a believer in the Bears, and I'm a believer in Nick Foles. I'm a believer in the Bears, one, because they have an elite defense. They're in 6th in points allowed, 1st in touchdowns allowed, the best defense in the red zone, and they're the 2nd best defense on 3rd down. So the defense gets off the field a lot. And I'm a believer in Foles because he's a motivational speaker. He's a guy that I'd hire if I was on my last breath about to jump off a bridge to come talk to me and talk me out of it. That's the kind of guy Nick Foles is. He's a leader. He's a leader, and I feel like he's very inspiring. And I think it rubs off on the whole team. So I think the Bears are for real. And I really like the young players. Part of the reason they're so good on defense is because of rookie Jalen Johnson, opposite of Kyle Fuller. He's a really good corner. He's going to be one of the best young corners in the league already as a rookie. And a lot of teams have been trying to try him, and he's been making them pay for it. And then the rookie on offense, Darnell Mooney, he was a 5th-round pick wide receiver. He's really fast. He's really good. And the Bears have a bunch of deep threats. Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, and Anthony Miller. Mitchell Trubisky couldn't take advantage of them, but Nick Foles can. So I think I'm definitely sold on the Bears. And right now they're first in the NFC North. So now the Packers are playing catch up, not the Bears.
They don't have the same record?
Oh, yeah. I think they do have the same record, but I think the Bears are first.
Oh, okay. You want to go?
I
agree with everything he said, honestly.
The Packers are 4-1. They had a bye.
Oh, okay.
I like Nick Foles a lot, and I think that what you said about him being like a motivational speaker and a great leader is the most true thing that you said. Like that is what I think he has the most going for him.
You sent it to me through text.
Yeah.
It's hard not to like the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you're an Eagles fan. If I was an Eagles fan, I'd love him.
And
I would never bash him at all.
If you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go
Was
watch.
that like a sub or something? Like, what's wrong with you?
If you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to go watch his press conference from yesterday after their win. And some of the things he said, it's just like you watch it, and it's like it's hard to imagine being in the locker room with him and not wanting to go out and play a football game with him. Like,
even
he is
with
a great leader.
Even with this Christian rap and a lot of his soft music, yeah, that's his choice of music.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gospel and Christian rap.
He really seems like a great guy. He's had such a tough journey, and so seeing him in a position to succeed, it's hard not to root for him. I think that the best thing that the Bears have going for them, even though the segment is called Foles Gold,
is their defense.
Is their defense, because they have so many great pieces on that defense. I mean, you go down the list. Eddie Jackson is one of the better safeties in the league. Khalil Mack. You
don't have to say.
He's Khalil Mack. He's one of the best players in the NFL. Forget defenders.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have a great linebacker duo. They have a great safety duo. Like, I feel like everywhere around the field, you mentioned the cornerbacks. I feel like everywhere around the field they have playmakers and difference makers, and that's what's really going to keep them in any game, I think. And the one thing that scares me about them is that they haven't played anybody. They beat the Bucks.
I feel like we say that about every team.
It does seem like that.
Because we're only 6 weeks into the season, so
you don't know who.
Now we're getting into the climax of the season.
Things.
Oh man,
they had that big win over the Bucks, which not a big
huge
win.
win.
They beat them by one, but big. I mean, and like that was big for them because that was the real team that they've beat so far. Other than that, they had the Falcons, the Giants, the Lions, who they should have lost to, and the Panthers. None of those are really great wins that stand out. The Bucks was their resume builder, and a loss to the Colts, which is tough.
Mitchell Trubisky should have lost to the Lions, not Nick Foles, right?
Fair.
Right, okay.
And now they're getting into the thick of it. You mentioned. Now they got the Rams, the Saints, the Titans, and then the Vikings, who are struggling, but it's still going to be a tough game.
And I say what I say about Nick Foles and the Philly comparison because we remember in 2015, Ryan Fitzpatrick's amazing season with the Jets. I think he still holds the record for most touchdowns.
Season?
Yeah, the most touchdowns thrown by a Jets quarterback. Even though we didn't make the playoffs, we appreciate that year from him. And you're never going to hear any bashing coming from a Jets fan outside of that Week 17 game.
He threw 6 interceptions one time.
If Fitzpatrick were to bring us to the playoffs, we'd be forever grateful. Imagine the quarterback bringing us to the Super Bowl. That's something Nick Foles, if I was a Knicks fan, if I was an Eagles fan, I would always praise him. Nothing ever. I'd never say anything bad about Nick Foles.
I'm just going to let you guys
especially out-dueling Tom Brady. Wow.
My last word is I will say I think that they are Foles Gold. Moving forward, I would buy stock in them if there was the option. Riv, the floor is yours.
Foles Gold.
I was literally going to agree with you, and then you started talking crazy.
Foles Gold, Foles Ruby, Foles Sapphire. I'm going Foles everything.
Nah, I agree with you. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna buy my stock into Foles Gold here because I like what they're doing. And you mentioned it, leadership, championship pedigree, experience. Nick Foles has things, the intangibles that Mitchell Trubisky just doesn't have. He has all that. He's not the best. He's not gonna be the best thrower. He's not gonna be the best player on any, but he has the leadership and the experience. They have a number one receiver, Allen Robinson, who since Nick Foles has stepped in, he's been playing really well. That defense has been amazing. So I'm gonna buy stock because I feel like with an elite defense, you have a game manager who's never really gonna lose you a game. You have an elite number one. You have guys who are gonna play for him. you can pick the Bears to beat almost any team on any given night. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw some money in there and Foles go.
But that title of game manager, I don't like it.
Why?
Because Alex Smith, to me,
He's
I think
fell off. What are you
quarterbacks.
talking
I think
about
quarterbacks that get labeled game managers are quarterbacks that play safe and conservative. I don't think that's Nick Foles' game.
I don't
wouldn't
think
say
it's an insult.
I don't think he's safe
it's
and
guys who
conservative.
like you wouldn't call Kyler Murray or like Lamar Jackson a game manager because they're gonna do something like out of walk in the
I don't
game.
think I
It's
don't
not a
think
bad thing though.
Kyler Murray, I have not seen that from him. To do something out of just to win the team a game.
he's been
Maybe he's done it a couple times,
He's
but
been
Just
inconsistent.
how you go from a couple times to I've never seen him do it.
because last year they weren't very good, and this year they've kind of been underwhelming. They're on a losing streak right now.
So, but what's wrong with being called a game manager?
After winning to the Jets, but
What's wrong with being
wanna-
called a game manager?
no, I don't think Nick Foles is one.
I don't think it's an insult, but I also don't think that Nick Foles is going to win you a game.
I think
I don't think he's gonna light it up on the scoreboard.
Nick Foles has shown more to win a game than Kyler Murray has shown to win a game.
Well, one guy's been here for like 8 years, another guy's in year 2.
No, but I'm just saying. But you said Kyler Murray.
Because you're not gonna see. You're not gonna see.
I like to see you name more players
You're not okay.
that are actually
all right.
Here.
Even a
and
guy,
proven
even a
and
guy
have
like
years under their
You
belt.
would okay. Let me give you an example. You're not gonna see Nick Foles get sacked. You're not gonna see Nick Foles throw a pass that's like, oh my god, that's like top 10 pass I've ever seen. That's not. You're not gonna see him do that ever in life. Like that's just not a Nick Foles thing.
I get what he's
What?
trying to say.
That's
I get what he's
that's
trying
not
to
a Nick
say.
Foles thing. Like he's
It
not
doesn't
gonna
mean he's a game manager.
It's hard
But
to
he
put
is
it
a
into
game
words.
manager.
But did you see his throws against Atlanta? They look pretty top 10 to me.
No, they didn't look top.
You should have
10.
seen him. You should have seen the throws.
He's a game manager.
In his
He's-
comeback versus Atlanta, those are some top 10 throws.
I think he's a really good quarterback, but I don't think he's anything more than that. Like, I don't think he's a great quarterback. I think he's a great leader who is also a really good quarterback, which has translated to wins. And I think that the biggest impact that he's made has been as a leader and managing the offense. Because you look at it feels like just yesterday we were talking about Allen Robinson wanting a trade out of Chicago when Trubisky was playing quarterback.
because of contract situations, though. They didn't want to extend him.
I
He ain't talking about it no more. So you
Exactly.
sure it was that?
I haven't heard a word about
They
it.
ain't talking
since
about
Nick
it
Foles
no
took
more.
They're
over.
winning. And he's been playing well, too.
And look at Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham, you didn't hear a word from him the first 2 weeks of the season, and now he's almost looking like revitalized with Nick Foles at quarterback. Allen Robinson has looked great. Jimmy Graham has looked great. And even the offense without Tariq Cohen, who was their lead back, has looked really good.
Tariq Cohen's out for the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
for real?
even with him missing the year, or being out for the year now, the offense losing their most explosive piece, in my opinion, has looked better than it did with him. And I think that Nick Foles,
I guess. I think Tariq Cohen hasn't been Tariq Cohen since 2018.
That's
Last
fair.
year, he wasn't that good.
that's fair.
That's fair to
But
say.
I say, I don't think Nick Foles is just a good quarterback and not anything more than that. I think if we're going on a scale of like 100%, I think Nick Foles is a good quarterback 70% of the time. And that other 30%, he's a great quarterback. And he turns it up. And I think we've seen that throughout his career.
Are you talking about in his numbers? I hope that's not what you're talking about.
Is winning his
So
numbers.
you were saying he
Yeah.
never plays bad.
Well, he has some bad games, but I think even his bad games aren't eye-popping bad and just.
But
But
I-
has he?
shake
But wait,
your
okay.
head
This
bad.
year has he
Because
had?
you mentioned
wait,
his
this
playoff
year,
game against Atlanta, but he played a clean game against Atlanta.
he played a game managing game.
That's
I'll
not
say
a
this.
bad game. That's not
Well,
a great game.
I
That's
never
just a
said,
good
but I
game.
never said it was bad being a game manager. You took it to offense.
No. But the day that we had that argument, you said that was a bad game from him.
Did you watch him?
Yeah, I did. He played a clean game. Sometimes you got to give credit to the defense.
I think you are just as likely to see him have a bad game or lose you a game than you are to see him have a great game and win you a game.
I don't think so.
That's
not from
just
Nick,
my opinion.
Not from Nick Foles.
I think he is like
Has he had an eye-popping game this year?
Atlanta
Statistically,
in the fourth quarter.
no, that's not what
Atlanta
actually.
in the fourth quarter.
Statistically,
the three
I mean,
of
his statistics against Atlanta are really great.
the three of us could have an eye-popping game
you
against
talk about the team
Atlanta
that
in the
blows
fourth quarter
leads
at quarterback.
consistently. That's what you're talking about. Atlanta.
Mitch Trubisky didn't have an eye-popping game against them.
It's clear Nick Foles.
Kirk
is better
Cousins
than-
didn't just this week, just yesterday.
Nick Foles is better than both of them.
I've been selling Kirk Cousins stocks.
I feel like you took this game manager thing to the heart.
Not because I don't think he's a game manager.
When I think of the definition of game managers, I had to look it up real quick. Just
game
to make sure
manager
I wasn't
is
bugging.
safe and conservative. That's what
I'm
it means.
read
When
it.
you think
Can
about
I
game
read it?
manager, you think
Can I
of
read
safe
it?
and conservative.
Can I read it?
You think of Jimmy
Can I read
G.
it? Why is he not? Can I read it?
Yeah, read it.
In American football, a game manager is a quarterback who, despite pedestrian individual statistics, Nick Foles, such as passing yards and touchdowns, Nick Foles, also maintains low numbers of mistakes, Nick Foles, such as interceptions and fumbles. Game managers often benefit from strong defenses, Nick Foles, and rushing offenses on their team, Nick Foles.
What quarterback doesn't? That's a great quarterback right now that you consider top 5. Doesn't have a strong running
Russell
game
Wilson.
nor a strong defense.
Yeah,
Russell Wilson.
Great receivers.
But that's not what you just asked us. That's not what you just asked us.
And they have a pretty good running game. And actually, last year, this is the first year the
But
Seahawks have let Wilson loose.
Wait, but are you going to sit here and tell us Russell Wilson's not elite?
No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that every quarterback needs to have people around him in order to be successful.
But does Russell Wilson But does Russell Wilson throw up pedestrian statistics?
No, he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not trying to. But I'm just saying, what quarterback is in a bad situation and putting up eye-popping numbers? No quarterback. Lamar Jackson has an elite running game, an elite defense.
He is the running game.
Literally. Don't do it. He is.
But they feed off of him, and a lot of players do. The scheme is the real MVP of that offense.
Patrick Mahomes didn't have a great rushing offense last year.
They had a great defense to end the year. But
it wasn't a consistent defense throughout the year.
In the playoffs, it was.
Yeah, but
the reason they made the Super Bowl is because their defense was number 1 in a lot of categories to end off the year.
Absolutely, but their offense is their bread and butter.
Other quarterbacks, but they have something elite going on for them on their team.
I think that you are taking the game manager tag
and they have an elite
negative.
offensive line. No, I'm not taking it as negative, but to me, a game manager is somebody who's safe and conservative, who's somebody that doesn't make plays to win you games. I think Nick Foles does make plays to win you games. He definitely does, and he definitely has shown it before. He outdueled Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against a Bill Belichick defense.
I think he's more likely to play it safe than to make plays to win you the game. That's why I would call him a game manager.
I think he lands more on the right side of the bell curve of game manager, but I still think he falls in that middle category. Like I think he's more likely to win you a game than lose you a game.
The difference
I don't think he'll lose you a game ever.
The difference we can't say that about Foles definitively is because game managers throughout their careers have not won the big one, and they've been the reason they have not won the big one. Nick Foles has won and is Super Bowl MVP.
Wait. You call Jimmy G a game manager, right?
I think he is, yeah.
Jimmy G has, he's won a lot of games last year, like a lot of games in the fourth quarter.
What happened in the playoffs?
He went to the Super Bowl.
But he went to the Super Bowl. You talk about winning the big one. He went there.
Look at his pass attempts throughout every single playoff game and in the Super Bowl.
So now you're going off statistics.
He still got there, though.
He got there because of the running game and an elite defense.
And you can make an argument.
That was the definition of a game manager.
You can make that
right?
case for Nick Foles right now. They have an elite defense.
Yeah, but
he hasn't been playing great.
He has shown that he's had that it factor in Philly. He's shown it in
Philly
the playoffs.
had a great rushing offense and a strong defense.
Every team that wins is going to have a strong something. That's why they win.
But wait.
But I'm saying he wasn't a game manager in that playoff run.
You're talking about
definitely wasn't.
We're not saying Nick Foles can have a game, but on a consistent
he had a couple games.
But on a consistent season basis, are you really gonna sit here and say, "Oh, he's gonna win me a game every given night"? No,
he is not. Every quarterback's gonna win you a game every given night. That's why there's only a few quarterbacks that have fourth quarter comebacks and game winning drives.
You literally tried to compare him to Russell Wilson. Though.
Let me say
I didn't compare it to Russell Wilson.
Let me say this: he is. I'll take off the game manager tag, but he's not a franchise quarterback.
Wait, what the hell? When did I compare him to Russell Wilson? I never compared him to Russell Wilson.
Pardon me.
Okay. No, I never compared him to Russell Wilson. I'm just saying every quarterback that's elite has an elite something. Russell Wilson, elite receiving core. Actually, I'm going to be honest. His receiving core is elite. But I'm going to also be honest. DK Metcalf is probably a top 5 wide receiver right now.
Yeah, talking about right now, but last year.
Last year, but they had a good running game. Russell Wilson's probably the only quarterback in the league that has been working with the least amount of pieces and has been able to win. Russell Wilson's in a league of his own. Patrick Mahomes is too, but even Patrick Mahomes, an elite play
But you're
caller.
forgetting the other part of the definition. Pedestrian individual statistics. Like you just like disregarded that part. Those guys you keep naming, Nick Foles can be put in those same situations. He will never put up the stats they put up ever.
Do you think Dak Prescott is a game manager?
No, but I also don't think that he has won them games this year. Like he has bailed out their
Yeah, I don't think he's a
before
game
getting
manager.
injured. He bailed out that defense.
A lot of people.
numerous
The reason
times.
why people didn't want Dak to get paid in Dallas is because they labeled him as a game manager.
Well, I didn't want Dak to get paid in Dallas, but that's also because he was asking for like $40 million a year, which
But
I think is
also
outrageous.
is because we know that like Dak is labeled that because he doesn't win games like these elite quarterbacks, right?
I don't think that. I think he's borderline in
Like
that
Kirk Cousins
conversation.
is to me kind of like that borderline game manager. I don't think Nick Foles, the thing that's different with Nick Foles, he's a really unique situation because he's won and he's propelled his game in those big moments.
I think that Kirk
that's
Cousins.
why those situations are different.
I think that Kirk Cousins is the anti-Nick Foles, though. Like, I think that Kirk Cousins is more of a game manager who will be more likely to lose you a game than win you a game.
But Kirk Cousins has great statistics throughout his career.
But he's also lost his team a bunch of games. Like, he has had performances where he is the reason his team lost.
But you could also say that quarterbacks that play conservative, even though they don't have turnovers, they still make their teams lose because they're not aggressive.
That's true.
That's fair.
That's why Nick Foles to me is in a unique situation because he's won.
Do you think that he's an elite quarterback?
Nick Foles?
Yes.
The highest of his highs, yes. But, you know, if we're
That
talking about if we're just talking about him,
basis,
we're just talking about like on a consistent basis,
Yes.
he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
But on the highest of his highs, he's probably one of the best quarterbacks in playoff history.
The highest of his highs was 3 games, though.
That's all it
I'm
takes.
sorry,
to
that
win the
was
Super Bowl.
like 4 years ago. Can you like talk about something consistent?
That's all it takes to win a Super Bowl, win those games, and that's what he did. That's what I'm saying. Nick Foles is in a unique situation.
That's fair.
I just think I don't think he's the same guy that he was 4 years ago. And I think that run was magical.
That run, because he was magical.
So you're just gonna disregard the defense?
Everybody played well, but the quarterback is what gets it done at the end of the day. And he outdueled Tom Brady.
So what has he done since then?
Well, since then,
Can you name me another? Because you keep naming the same game.
since then-
wait. You keep naming the
because
same
that's what he
game.
has on his resume.
So
I
can you
can't
name me?
really-
Can you name me another game off
But
the
it's
top
one
of
of
your
the
head?
biggest things that you can have on your
But
resume.
what
But
else
what
does
else?
he have since then?
You can't even name
He
me
went to
another game off the top of your
Jacksonville.
head.
Gardner Minshew started over him in Jacksonville.
Because Nick Foles threw a touchdown in his first play of the game, and he got a shoulder
And he
injury.
never made it back.
Because Gardner
It shows me he was
played well in the first 4 games. They brought Nick Foles back, but he never got into a rhythm. He flopped in Jacksonville. I can't deny that. But in Philadelphia, they wanted to go with Carson Wentz, and that's great for them because they paid him a lot of money.
He flopped in St. Louis too. Don't forget that.
St. Louis, I was with Jeff Fisher coaching. Jeff Fisher's one of probably the worst coaches in football.
That's fair.
So, when I see it in Philadelphia, he had a great season with Chip Kelly. Probably like a really top quarterback season with Chip Kelly.
27-2.
Doug Peterson, he had a great playoff run, but we knew he wasn't going to start because Carson Wentz was the franchise guy and getting the money. So Nick Foles is just in a weird situation because he was never given a chance to have the keys to a franchise.
Do you think?
And I don't think it's not that because he's not good enough. I think it's because he's been put in really weird situations.
You think
like
he's
in
good
Philly,
enough to be a franchise guy?
If they
Or
build
at
around
least
him yet,
was?
I think he was. He was.
What are you talking about when he 13?
I think if that's a year.
I think if anybody had given him a chance to be the franchise guy, it could have ended very Kirk Cousins-esque with the Vikings, where things
Listen, Jack.
did not go the
The
right way.
the year that KC went on like a 5-year playoff run when they got Andy Reid and Alex Smith. Alex Smith was KC's franchise guy for a couple years, and he played really well.
But
You
what
don't
did
think
they
Nick?
do?
You don't. I know
I
they
think
didn't
Nick
do
would have
nothing.
been just like Alex Smith.
They didn't do nothing, right? In the playoffs, they didn't do nothing. But
Game manager.
you don't think that Nick Foles, given that type of situation, can lead a team to the playoffs 5 straight years in a row?
The playoffs, sure.
What else is he gonna do?
There's a lot of quarterbacks that
situation.
don't win though. So I'm not placing all of that on him. But Nick Foles has won.
So
That's why I'm saying that's the difference between a game manager like Alex Smith and Nick Foles. Like Nick Foles has won.
He's not gonna win, so you're not gonna place the blame on him. He wins, and then he gets all the blame. It's like forget the team, right? That's what you're telling me.
What are you saying?
You just said if he doesn't win, you're not gonna place all the blame.
No,
on him.
I didn't say that.
You just said that.
I didn't say place a blame. I didn't say that.
No, you said if he doesn't win, you're not gonna put all the blame on the quarterback because that's not how you're gonna do it. But if he wins,
did I say that sentence? I don't think I said that sentence.
But
I think you said something along those
No,
lines.
I didn't.
Yes, no, you really just said that.
No,
but
I
if he
didn't.
wins, though, it's like, oh, Nick Foles did it. Nick Foles. He's the guy. He's the guy.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying if you put Nick Foles in a situation like KC, he'll get you to the playoffs. And if he wins or not, it's still to be determined because he won in Philly, so he's shown he can do it. That's the difference between a guy like Alex Smith and Nick Foles.
Wait.
Is that Nick Foles has something on his resume that shows he can do it.
Put some knowledge on that Philly. He didn't start the season, got them to where they got them, and then won the whole thing. No,
you got to take that context.
He jumped in late when we were already on fire and the team was already on a roll. Stop saying he did all this. That he didn't start them 11-2. He didn't do that. I get it. No, he played amazing. He played amazing in the
I'm gonna tell you something else.
But stop making it seem like he jumped in and they went 11-2 or they went whatever we were, like 13, I think, something like that, because of him. No, he didn't. There's a reason he didn't start that year. He wasn't better than our starting quarterback. Our starting quarterback was gonna win the MVP. He gets hurt.
Not the Super Bowl.
Nick Foles comes. Nick Foles gets in.
It's not that good.
Doesn't matter. Whatever you're gonna say doesn't even matter. We'll never know. Nick Foles jumps in late. Stop making it seem like he did all that. Like he got us that whole season.
He threw 500 yards in the Super Bowl.
Yes, I get that.
Against a Bill Belichick defense. You know how crazy that is?
But you do also have to take into consideration the context that he was placed.
You guys also have to take into consideration that Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett, the player that played right in for the Philadelphia Eagles during that whole dilemma, has went on multiple podcasts and shows and said that Nick Foles was better than Carson Wentz.
I put little to no stock into what Michael Bennett has to say.
Like,
either of the Bennett brothers.
Who cares?
Either of the Bennett brothers.
I don't like. What are you telling us that for?
I don't listen to.
I bet you players in the locker room felt the same way. They felt Nick Foles was better, but they knew the team was going to go with Carson Wentz because of politics.
And you've been up here and literally said Carson Wentz is more talented than Nick Foles. You know you've been up here and you've said that.
No, he is more talented.
Then what are you saying?
But who gets the job done? It's Nick Foles.
It wasn't politics. Carson Wentz was an MVP candidate. Carson Wentz would have been the MVP if he didn't get hurt that year.
Jack, I don't know what he's talking about.
Since Carson Wentz's back injury, he's been pedestrian.
And what has Nick?
And that has a lot to do with the injury.
Wait a minute. Since Nick Foles' Super Bowl run, what has he been?
He hasn't gotten a chance to play.
Why is that? Tell me why.
Why
does he not get the chance? I want you to tell me why. Because if he's this great quarterback,
in Philly, it was politics. But he did get a chance to play late in the season at the next year. And they could have beat the Saints if Alshon Jeffrey doesn't drop a pass. We all know it.
It was not.
They could have been they could have gone to the NFC Championship the year after they made the Super Bowl. And it was because of Nick Foles.
It was not politics. Carson Wentz is a better quarterback. He was the MVP of the league.
He loves to say politics.
I'm taking Foles, man. I think it's politics. We know that
speaking with your heart right now.
The league runs on politics, man. And Carson Wentz.
Now the league runs on politics.
You sound like
if you're paying a player $100 million.
We didn't pay him yet, bro. You got to stop saying that. We didn't pay him yet.
You paid him in the offseason that y'all won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but we didn't. You stop saying it as if we didn't pay him yet, bro.
We did pay him.
We didn't pay him until after we won. We watched Nick Foles win the Super Bowl, and we still paid him. You know what that means? That means we know for a fact Nick Foles in a full season, if he's healthy, he's not going to do what Carson Wentz does because he's not better than him.
Not really. That just means that,
what does it
mean? This Nick Foles guy just drained Carson Wentz's entire confidence, and we need to find a way to show Carson Wentz this is his team no matter what. So we're going to give him $100 million. How has that turned out for you guys? Zero playoff wins.
We were starting Sam Bradford over Nick Foles, zero playoff wins. We were starting Sam Bradford over Nick Foles.
Sam Bradford had a good year, man.
Like, come on.
He wasn't bad. He was a first overall pick. He was pretty good. He was when he wasn't hurt.
Carson Wentz was a top 3 pick.
He was a second overall pick, same as Mitchell Trubisky. And look where they're both at now.
But when Sam Bradford comes up, he was the first overall
Wentz
pick.
has 0 playoff wins, man. I don't want him in the same conversation as Nick Foles until he gets a playoff win. And if he even makes the playoffs this year. Until Carson Wentz gets a playoff win, put him in the same conversation with Foles Gold. But right now, Carson Wentz is just silver. That's what he is. He's gold-plated.
That's crazy.
He's gold-plated.
I can't
He's
get
not real
behind
gold.
that.
He's not real gold. Pretender. That's what he is. That's what he is. Just being
He's on
honest.
a bad team.
I stopped listening.
Just being honest. The defense is really good. They were really good.
The defense is
It's
solid,
still
but
good.
what is his offense? Miles Sanders underperformed. Injuries on the offensive line. What wide receivers does he have? Travis
The offensive
Fulgham.
line just got injured. To begin the year, they were really good. They were really good protecting Wentz, and they lost games because of Wentz.
Huh?
In the first couple of weeks, Wentz was the worst graded quarterback in the league.
Oh, but Lane Johnson was in and out of the lineup. It was only Jason Kelsey is the only one that's been there consistently.
Those aren't the only players that are playing on your offensive line.
I get it, but if the Pro Bowl guys aren't
Those
there,
are the two difference makers on the line.
that
yeah,
matters.
but even without the Pro Bowl guys, you guys are one of the better offensive lines in the league. Even without them, that's what I'm saying.
And he also doesn't have any weapons.
Travis, man.
I don't know. I think that it's hard to.
I don't even know why you listen to.
I think you're placing way too much of the blame on him for what's happening in Philadelphia. And
I'm not
I
placing
agree
the blame.
with you.
I'm
I
just
agree with
saying
you.
Nick Foles.
He also
Nick Foles is not a game manager.
he
That's
also
what I'm saying.
hasn't been the same, but I think a lot of that has to do with the injury.
I think Nick
and coming
Foles
back.
is in a class of his own and in a unique situation. And what I mean by a class of his own is that it's hard to compare who he is because he's had such high highs. It's hard to be like, this is the guy Nick Foles is, and we know it because we've seen different shades of Nick Foles. So it's hard to say who he really is. That's what I'm saying.
I will.
That's what I'm saying.
I will gladly lean towards what we have seen more often than not out of him, which is that
Do
he
it.
is a average to good quarterback.
Do it, man. 5-1.
And I'm still, with that being said, buying stock in the Bears. You are just. I think that you are, selling the house and putting the mortgage on it.
It's the heart. He got too much heart.
I think you're speaking with the
He's
heart.
speaking
right
from the heart.
I just think Nick Foles is a
Got
really
emotional.
good quarterback. I think Nick Foles is a really good quarterback, and I do think he's one of the most unique quarterbacks that we've seen in the league because of the different situations that he's been put in. So I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to judge his career.
Nah, it's not weird. It's pretty easy.
The next topic, we're gonna talk about Aaron Rodgers.
That was in Joe Douglas, in the Joe Douglas realm of topics. We're gonna have to cut that one down.
Joe Douglas. I think it wasn't even that long. It was like 18 minutes.
Really?
How did you just come up with 18
That
minutes?
topic just now?
Because I know we started the topic at 37 minutes, and I could see the time going.
I was
Wow,
like, how
that
did you
felt
just-
like a lifetime.
Because you guys wanted to not. You
No,
guys
you
didn't
got
wanna agree.
defensive. When
on
you got
who Foles
defensive.
goes.
It hit your heart.
Definitely got
You got
defensive.
Nick
defensive.
Nick Foles is different, man. He's different. I wish he was still in Philly. Philly would definitely be in the lead in NFC East for sure.
Right.
Out that
Next.
is the media being unfair to Aaron Rodgers. We've seen a lot of sport talk shows talk about how he's supposed to get blamed for this game. He didn't show up. I know Max Kellerman said that
He's crazy.
he should have rose to the occasion and carried them to the win. I'm going to go first on this one. Just watching the game, I don't think any quarterback in the NFL would have had a chance if they were put in Aaron Rodgers' position. I don't think Aaron Rodgers had a chance in that game. The first interception was on him. Dean read the route, got the interception in a pick six. The second wasn't. Devontae dropped the ball. It landed in Mike Edwards' hands, and that was the second interception. But I don't think there was more than 3 plays in a row that I saw that game that Rodgers wasn't getting pressured. I felt like he was pressured the entire game. He didn't even have a chance to get the ball out. Outside of Adams, you don't have a legit weapon to get any separation. Marquise Valdes-Scantling is extremely average. Adam Lazard is injured, and he was emerging into their second best receiver. But when you look at the numbers, the Bucs got 5 sacks, 8 tackles for losses, and 13 QB hits. And Aaron Jones, who a lot of people were saying were one of the best running backs in the league and playing like one of the best backs in the league, got 10 carries for 15 yards. He averaged 1.5 yards a carry. So I don't think Aaron Rodgers should be blamed for this, and I hate the narrative in sports media and these mainstream talk shows and even amongst fans that quarterbacks have to carry or rise to this occasion. That is literally impossible because I think football is one of the major team sports that it takes a collective to win games.
Yeah.
I've hardly ever seen,
they were
even
up.
from the elite players, I've hardly ever seen them legitimately put the team on their back. It's always a team effort in football, and I just hate that narrative that you get blamed just because the people around you played bad. I think it's a very general take.
And just to add to your point, the defense didn't play well either, which I think that we consider their defense one of the better units in the league.
They got 0 sacks that game.
Yeah, no sacks. Tom Brady played really well, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 166 yards. And then Ronald Jones, who I think, in my opinion, is an average to solid back, went for 113 yards and 2 touchdowns. And, like, this is not an offense. This is not a world-beating offense, in my opinion, especially with the injuries to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They are not what we expected them to be to this point in the season, and I think they made the Packers' defense look really bad yesterday. So I think
part of that is they've been injured, though.
Yeah, of course. And I think that with the injuries and everything, the Packers' defense made that offense look much better than it was last night. And I think that Aaron Rodgers got a lot of undeserved blame for the reasons that you mentioned. And Rodgers has been arguably a top 3 or top 5 quarterback in the league this season, and he has been carrying that Packers team, in my opinion. I don't think that without Aaron Rodgers, they're in the same position they are right now. So he has one bad game, and he's to blame.
You mentioned a good point about Rojo, Ronald Jones.
What did you Rojo?
Rojo, that's his name. That's what they call him in Tampa. The Packers' weakness is stopping the run, and it showed against the Bucks. They weren't able to stop Ronald Jones, even though I think he's a pretty good back. But we've seen it in the playoffs, and watching this game, it reminded me of when I watched Green Bay versus San Francisco. You know what's going to happen. You know that they're going to get dominated.
You still can't stop it.
I wasn't sure that the Bucks were going to dominate the Packers. I actually had the Packers winning, but it was similar to me. I thought I was watching the 49ers out there the way that they dominated the Packers. I think this just shows that the Packers, you're right that Aaron Rodgers does carry them. I think also the play calling by Matt LaFleur has been great all season. But Aaron Rodgers plays mistake-free football. The pick 6 he had yesterday was his 3rd pick 6 of his entire career.
And it was his first interception of the season.
Yeah. He's been mistake-free the entire year. In the first game that he has some mistakes, I could count one mistake. He's all of a sudden to blame, and he's this and he's that. He's not capable. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's just it's sensationalism is all it is, and it's just people trying to draw attention.
It's the media, because just before that game they was talking about, Aaron Rodgers is back, MVP, this, that, and the third. It's just the media. I look at it as just another game where 2 top teams play and 1 top team outbeats this other team. That's all I look at it as that. I think Green Bay is going to bounce back. They're going to get it together. One thing they do have to figure out is the run game has to be consistent. And they have to figure out another, like you said, Lazard, he was getting into his own. They got to get him back, because you can't be walking out there with 1 receiver on the field. It's going to be easy to stop. The defense has to get back to doing what it was doing. And I think they'll be okay. I think this was just a stop on the road.
If anybody deserves blame, I think it's the offensive line and the defense, because look at the biggest problems in that game, I think, were that you couldn't get the rushing attack going, which has to do with the offensive line. Aaron Rodgers had no time, got sacked 4 times, offensive line, and the defense, which got embarrassed pretty much. And it's not like Tampa Bay was on the field for a lot of the game. They actually lost the possession battle, which is not normally what you see from teams who win the football game. They lost the possession battle by 3 minutes, and they still embarrassed that defensive unit. 5 of 12 on 3rd down. You can't let stuff like that happen. And I already read off the numbers from some of the guys that should not be putting up numbers like that, like Ronald Jones.
And I feel like that pick 6 kind of changed the game a little bit, because they was up 10-0. It looked like Aaron Rodgers was cooling and grooving. He throws the pick 6, and it looks like that's when everything started to turn. It got bad for Green Bay, and they started to exploit them. So I just think they just got to get it going.
And after the 2nd interception, it just seemed like the game was over.
Yeah, I was just like.
But it wouldn't concern me too much if I was the Packers. They're still a great team.
They're a great team.
They're still top 5, top 6 team.
They're a great team, but I think they have a ceiling. Their ceiling is that they can't beat any of the elite teams.
Who's the elite team?
I think Tampa's one of the elite teams in the NFC. I also think 49ers, they don't match up well with them at all. Teams that are very run-heavy, they don't match up well. I think the Rams are a bad matchup for them, too.
Something that is good
the only reason I give them a chance against the Seahawks is because the Seahawks defense has been really bad.
Something that is good for them, but also it's good for them up until the playoffs, but then I think will hurt them come playoff time, is they don't really have to play an elite team all season long, except they just played Tampa Bay. They beat New Orleans earlier in the season, if you still can consider them an elite team, and they get Tennessee in Week 16. Other than that, I don't think
they play Chicago.
They play Chicago. If you want to consider them elite, personally,
Chicago.
I don't. I don't know how Joel
Aaron Rodgers
feels
is gonna do
about calling them an elite team, but realistically, they have Tennessee, and other than that,
Wait, what team is elite?
the Bears.
I said the Bucks.
No, we were talking about the schedule.
No. I'm saying their schedule moving forward. The only really elite team they have to play moving forward is Tennessee. The only undisputably team, because they also have the Niners, they have the Bears. Other than that, it's going to be a pretty easy rest of the way for them going into the playoffs. And while I think that will be very good for them to get a high seed, you're going to be going into the playoffs playing teams like you mentioned, the Seahawks, and you're not going to have any of those grinded out, gritty games against those teams during the season.
For me, I just don't trust the Packers because they can't stop the run. If you can't stop the run, I think you can't win in the playoffs. We've seen it multiple times with teams that if you can't stop that, you're basically prone to letting the other team run down the clock and beat you by managing the game. That's what happened to Baltimore last year against Tennessee.
They should have traded for Steve McClendon. That was a great move for the Bucs.
That was a great move, yeah. I agree.
I'm confident in this team. I think they can make some noise in the playoffs. The top 4, top 5 team in the NFC.
I would not at all be surprised to see them come out of the NFC.
Wait, come out go to the Super Bowl?
Yes, I could definitely see that.
I think a healthy Niners team they can't beat.
I'm not saying I would. Well, I don't think the Niners are going to be healthy the rest of the way. I'm not picking them to win the NFC, and I don't think I will come that time.
Right.
But if we fast forward to February and they're in the Super Bowl, it wouldn't shock me.
When you have that man,
I think their ceiling is losing in the NFC Championship, just like they did last year.
I also think that the NFC is weaker than the AFC overall in terms of beyond the Seahawks. I don't see any truly dominant teams in the NFC. I think the Seahawks are the closest thing they have to a dominant team. When you look at the AFC, you got to get through the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Ravens, the Titans.
I get that.
All better than anybody in the NFC.
I don't think the Titans are a dominant team.
I get that, but I feel like the Bucs and the Saints we will put in the conversation, but they've been dealing with a lot of injuries early on in the season.
And they gotta find
that group. I think those two teams you can definitely consider at top form or two elite teams in the NFC along with this. I think the Niners too, if they were healthy, would be considered an elite team because they can beat almost any team in the AFC if healthy. I think they can still even beat the Chiefs. So I think just injuries have been banging up these teams.
Yeah. I think that the Packers are in that same kind of situation with the Bucs and the Saints.
We're going to talk about the team that they lost to the Buccaneers. Have the Buccaneers finally figured it out?
The Buccaneers are another one of those teams, and I feel like every week we're talking about somebody and saying the same thing. The Buccaneers are another one of those teams that I feel like got really hurt by not having a preseason, OTAs, a training camp, because there were so many new pieces coming in, the biggest one being Tom Brady. And when you bring in a quarterback like that, everything changes. It's like bringing in LeBron James to your offense. The whole dynamic is going to change. And the fact that he came in having weapons like Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and so on and so forth, there was a lot of adjustment that had to happen. Bruce Arians working with him was also an adjustment. And that defense is still, I feel like, finding their footing. Bringing in McClendon will be a big help for them. I do think that they're starting to turn the corner, though, which is big for them. But I still think there's some work to be done. And I think I don't know if we've seen who they are yet, but I think that they are showing their teeth and showing what they can be.
I'm going to hold my tongue until November 8th starts because I feel like that's when the big test comes, Saints, Panthers, Rams, Chiefs. So I think that's really going to tell me. But I feel like they are starting to get their groove, are starting to see what they really are. But I think that's the 4-game stretch is really going to tell me if the Bucs are for real or not. So I'm going to hold my tongue.
The Buccaneers are the best team in the NFC, and it's not close.
No.
They're the best team in the NFC. I don't care what the record says. I know they're 4-2. The Seahawks are 5-0, right? But The Buccaneers are the best team in the NFC, and I don't have any doubt about it. And the reason I say that is because they turned the corner really quick. Last week versus the Bears, they were the last year against the Bears, they were the most penalized team. They had 11 penalties for 109 yards against Chicago. They had 0 penalties against Green Bay. That's how fast they had that switch, because Tom Brady was frustrated on the sidelines, screaming at them. Even though he got a lot of pushback on social media for doing that, it lit a spark. When you're a 6-time Super Bowl champion, you can do that. When you're Cam Newton, who's never won a Super Bowl, you can't. There's levels to this. No, because I know on Twitter there was a lot of people comparing, Cam Newton gets slack for this. Look at Tom Brady. He doesn't. Tom Brady's a 6-time Super Bowl champion. When you're a 6-time Super Bowl champion, you can talk to people a certain way that a loser can't.
Wait a minute.
You can talk to people a certain way, but let me finish my take.
Yeah, because that was crazy.
They had the Buccaneers were the first team all season to have 0 penalties in a game. And what gets underestimated within this whole thing is that this is a new offense for Tom Brady. People don't understand how hard Bruce Arians' offense is. It's the most difficult offense to learn in the league, possibly. Every quarterback's first year in the Bruce Arians offense, they have high interception and turnover numbers. And Godwin and Evans have been hurt. There have been games against the Chargers where they were having Justin Watson and Scotty Miller being their best targets, their best receiving targets throughout that game, and Tom Brady still found a way to come back and beat that team. Brady right now has 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Bruce Arians' offense is prone to having quarterbacks have high interception numbers. Right now, Brady has extremely low interception numbers, granted that it's in Bruce Arians' offense, and he's projected to throw 37 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. And this is why they're the best team in the NFC. I like complete teams. I like teams that I see little weaknesses in them. The Bucs, their weakness right now has been their offense because they've been unhealthy. But when they're healthy, they have probably the best or second best offense in the NFC. They're the most complete team because their defense currently, I think, is the best or second best in football right now. It's between the Bucs and Steelers. This year, the Bucs are the first rushing defense in the NFL. They were that last year. They lost Vita Vea, and what did they do? They went out and traded for Steve McClendon, who's really good. People laughed at the move because they're like, who's Steve McClendon, right?
We can tell you firsthand.
Yeah, but he's really good. Maker. He is really good. They're second in takeaways in the league, and people don't understand how good Levante David is. I'm about to give some praise to Levante David. He's a tiny step below Luke Kuechly. Levante David is an elite linebacker that people don't talk about. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. People don't know about Levante David because the Bucs have been a losing team and they've never been in the spotlight. But he's just a step below Luke Kuechly. He is an elite all-pro linebacker. You look at their defense with Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, Pierre Paul, Murphy Bunting, Jamel Dean.
Antoine Winfield.
They also have Carlton Davis. They have a really young defense, and it's just going to keep getting better. Todd Bowles and the coaching staff, Bruce Arians, Brian Leftwich, they're amazing. And they're going to be the best team in the NFC when the year is over, and they're going to be the team to beat in the playoffs because I think they're going to be healthy when that time comes. And I think there's a huge possibility that the Bucs are the first team to win a Super Bowl in their home stadium when they play later on in Tampa. They're the best team in the NFC.
That is some bold claims.
I don't
necessarily disagree with.
I noticed when he said the Luke Kuechly thing, faces was like, oh.
I don't necessarily.
I don't know if you've seen your face is gonna be like that.
Hey, I wasn't the only person who made the face.
No, but I'm saying.
Yeah.
But if you guys realistically, if you tell me like how many games have you seen Levante David play in the last 6 years?
No, that's a fair point.
You'll probably say less than 3. Because he's not on TV.
That's a fair assessment.
Because 1, we're not in the market, and 2, they're never on national television.
Yeah,
I've never been in national.
I'm not trying to disrespect Levante David.
Luke Kuechly's a big name.
Yeah, Luke Kuechly is a
Luke Kuechly is a big name, but I'm saying he's just a step below. Like he's not. I know he's not as good as Kuechly, but it's like Kuechly is here. Levante is like here. They are really similar. Levante David is a great elite linebacker.
I'm not as sold on the Buccaneers as you are, but I agree that's their ceiling. Like, I have no doubt that they can
They're
be
the Super Bowl or
best
bust for
team.
them.
Yeah, I have no doubt they can be the best team in the NFC. I want to see them consistently stay on the same page like they looked against the Packers moving forward now. And like I mentioned, now they're starting to they're flexing their muscles now. And this is what we know they can be. It's just, are they going to be that moving forward? And if I had to bet one way or the other, I would say, yes, this is the team that they are. And a lot of people have been talking down on Tom Brady, which is the biggest mistake you can make. Because never in his career has he been, a Trevor Lawrence type athlete, Patrick Mahomes type arm strength. But no matter what, at the end of the day, he will keep you in football games, and he will make plays come winning time.
He's a hard worker.
That doesn't change now that he's no longer in a Patriots uniform, especially with Bruce Arians, who I have always loved as a coach.
Yep.
I would not want to see the Buccaneers in a playoff game. I really do think that, the more I say it, the more I agree with a lot of what you said. They might be the scariest team in the NFC.
They don't have a lot of holes on their team. The Seattle, they have to win shootouts.
Yeah, and I think
the Bucs don't have to do that.
Like you mentioned, Seattle, their defense is a much bigger hole than, like you said, anything that the Buccaneers have. And the same thing with the Packers. I feel like when I look at the Packers, I have more question marks on who they're going to be week to week than I feel about the Bucs moving forward.
What I love about the Bucs is that they don't need to be in shootouts to win, but they can win if they're in the shootout. That's what I like about the Bucs. They can put up points, but they don't need to because that defense is elite.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see them get healthy too.
Me too.
The
Me
Mike
too.
Evans, Chris Godwin, it concerns me because
and Gronkowski just had his best game as a Buck yesterday.
And is that what he's going to be now moving forward, or is he going to be what he was in the first 4 weeks of the season where he didn't even call one pass?
He was trash. Just
He
call
did
it what
nothing.
it is. He was trash.
If they can get that production, or at least have that threat of that production out of Gronk moving forward, and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin can stay on the field,
I think Gronkowski, he wasn't good in the passing game, but as a run blocker, he was great.
And I think a lot of that has to do with him accepting that role behind so many weapons on that offense, which is commendable. And it's almost surprising out of Gronk to see that, because he's been such a personality, and you wouldn't expect him to take that backseat role. But Tom Brady's his guy. He came down here to get a ring in Tampa Bay, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that as the outcome.
And also, just that offense is really difficult. There's so many option routes within every single route. It's really hard to learn. Like, I have a book that has every single play they ran last year, and there's a lot of option routes in that.
Brady's so cerebral, though. I mean, he's got to have the best football IQ in the game.
I think so, too.
He didn't win 6 Super Bowls on accident. And a lot of people say Belichick this, Belichick that. You look at Bill Belichick now, granted, I think that he's making that Patriots team better than they are.
The Patriots have
They're nowhere
dealt,
near what they were.
They've gotten dealt a bad hand because all of the COVID stuff that has happened.
That's fair. But even so, they have not looked like the Tom Brady Patriots without him.
Yeah.
And I've always said that they both deserve the praise for that dynasty happening. But I think that Tom Brady's gotten a little disrespected since he came to Tampa Bay. And I think he's heard all the talk.
I think so, too, because, I even seen River do this whenever Tom Brady throws a bad pass, you want to quote the tweet, you want to retweet it, you want to put laughing faces. Oh, this guy is this, he's 43.
I didn't say nothing. I just laugh. All I do is laugh.
Yeah, he just laughed. He threw a pick 6. It was against the Chargers. And then Tom Brady goes out and throws 5 touchdowns. And I texted Riv and I said, laugh about that. Laugh about that.
It's funny how you didn't text me when you told me the Bucks was gonna beat the Saints on opening night. You didn't text me that night though. It got real quiet on that one though.
I said, what do you
feel about the Bucks?
Me and him, he picked the Bucks to win. I had the Saints to win. Like I said, I'm just gonna hold my tongue until they play. They're 1-2 against great teams, so we'll see how it goes.
You're calling the Bears a great team?
Yeah, essentially, great defensive team.
We
Okay, they lost.
are starting to turn the corner, though. These next couple weeks, I think, are going to
I'm still
be
confident in the Saints, boy. I got the Saints, man.
I think these next couple weeks are going to be make it or break it for a bunch of different teams that we've talked about
No, literally.
throughout the first 5 weeks of the season.
I'll be the first to admit that I'm emotionally invested in the Bucks.
Oh, we know.
I
And Nick
before
Foles.
before the season
And Nick
happened, I
Foles.
picked the Bucks to make the playoffs. This is before Tom Brady went there. I was under the impression Jameis was going to stay, or they were going to get a Phillip Rivers or Teddy Bridgewater. I thought they were
facts.
going to make the playoffs even without Brady.
I couldn't
When
attest
they
to that.
when they got Brady, I was like, oh yeah, now my
said
prediction
that.
is going to be 100% true. There's no way they
And
miss
then
it.
you switched it to Super Bowl. Tell them you switched it to Super Bowl.
Yeah, so now
Yeah.
I have really high hopes for the Tampa Bay Bucks.
Stick with it. There you go.
I've saw them throughout last year. I watched every single game of the Bucks because I like Jameis too,
30-30.
and I really think this team is great.
So what
I
happens?
really like the Bucks.
What happens if the Bucks play the Bears in the NFC Championship?
Who are you gonna root for?
I'm rooting for Tampa Bay. Nick Foles, if he makes the NFC Championship game, that's great for him.
Right.
That's great
So-
for him. That's something I could ride for.
He'll get the Foles silver behind Brady's Foles gold.
I think Foles will get gold, but you'll mix in Brady with some like gold and diamond. Like he'll get both.
I'm gonna stick with my pick. I got the Saints. Got the Saints coming out.
I think the champion's coming out of the AFC this year, but it's way too early to be
Well, I'm
saying
just strictly
anything
coming out the
about that.
NFC. I didn't pick the Saints to win the Super Bowl. I just thought they were gonna beat them,
So
and we already got one job done. 1-0 early.
I picked
Mike Evans got. Oh, oh my
Mike
God.
Evans won yesterday.
No,
Or
I'm talking about
won.
the Saints. Yeah, Mike Evans got
he
locked.
was hurt.
Oh yeah.
He was dealing with a leg
Yeah,
injury.
yeah. Marshawn Lattimore. Come on, bro. We're not even worried about him.
Marshawn Lattimore, he's good, but he's not what you think he is.
That's fine. And when he plays Mike Evans, he's what we think he is.
You'll
Lock-
see.
We'll see what.
If Mike Evans isn't hurt for that game, you'll see what Mike Evans does to Marshawn Lattimore.
What has he ever done to Marshawn Lattimore?
Same thing Mike Williams did on Monday night last week against Marshawn Lattimore. Did you see that game? Marshawn Lattimore was horrible.
That dude had 2 yards against Marshawn Lattimore. He lined up. He had 2 yards, bro. Yeah.
I think the Bucks, even though they're not undefeated like the Seahawks, I have the Bucks over them. But we're talking about the Seahawks. They're undefeated. They're 5-0. What team is the best undefeated team? Right now, the 3 undefeated teams are the Titans, the Seahawks, and the Steelers. And after next week, we're only probably going to have one if the Seahawks win because the Steelers are
whoever
playing the
wins out.
Titans. But as of right now, who's the best undefeated team? The Steelers, Titans, or the Seahawks?
Team, I'm going to go Steelers. I think the Steelers have the best defense out the 3. I think they have the most. They don't have the best offense, but they have better pieces. I think the only Seahawks, they have the best quarterback, obviously. Titans, they have the best running back. But I think with the collection for Pittsburgh, their O-line, their receiving core is really good, and they have an okay running back. I think they're the best team out the 3.
Yeah, I would also agree. If we're talking who's impressed me most out of these 3 teams, I would say the Steelers, which is surprising because I have not been high on the Steelers all season long. I wasn't high on them coming into the season, but that defense is smothering. Ben Roethlisberger actually looks like he's coming back into form now, coming off a Tommy John surgery, which I didn't think he would recover from. Good for him. I'm happy for him. And that receiving core with Chase Claypool now stepping up is insane. So overall, team-wise, I think that they've been the most impressive. But it's so hard to say because it's 3 great teams. And honestly, if you asked me, who would I ride with the rest of the way if I had to choose one of these 3 teams to, life or death win the Super Bowl, I would say the Seahawks. In my opinion, I just trust Russell Wilson at the end of the day to come out on top more than anything that those 3 teams could provide me. Russell Wilson is number 1
Absolutely.
for me.
A1.
I would trust him more than anything else out of those 3 teams.
He's 1, 2, and 3.
My opinion of it is I'm going with the Steelers too, and they have a top 5 defense and a top 5 offense right now in the NFL. And also, what you said, I like complete teams, and they're the most complete team. Tennessee is really vulnerable on defense. We've seen that versus the Texans yesterday. We've seen it against the Texans. The Seahawks, we already know how bad they've been on defense. The Titans, I feel like their defense is what they're going to be. The Seahawks, I have some hope because Jamal has been injured. I have faith in Pete Carroll scheming up some things so that defense is better. But I think Mike Tomlin is the best coach out of these guys. I think he's better than Carroll, and I think he's better than Vrabel. I trust the Steelers a lot, and I think they are the best team.
The one thing I was going to say is you look at those three teams, and what do the three of them have in common? You know, although they might have done it differently, Pete Carroll, Mike Vrabel, and Mike Tomlin are three of the better, if not three of the best coaches in the National Football League.
And I think Mike Vrabel, he did something really smart yesterday.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard about
taking the 12-man
with
field
the
penalty.
Yeah. Mike Vrabel has always been doing something.
It's the second
like
time he did that. He did that against the Jets too. Last year.
I remember against
2
the
years
Patriots
ago.
in the playoffs this past season when he ran out the clock against Bill Belichick. He's a really smart coach. And I like all these three teams. I like the Seahawks because of Wilson, most explosive offense. I think the Titans are like, if I were to categorize these teams, the Seahawks are the most explosive and dynamic offense. The Titans are the most balanced attack offense.
They're so gritty too.
Mm-hmm. The Titans are the most balanced and attacked offense, and the Steelers are just rugged. They're rugged.
I have a reference. It's a basketball reference. You want to hear it? The Steelers are like the Detroit Pistons with Chauncey Billups, Ben Wallace, and all
okay,
them.
the 07.
Cavs are like
the 04
the
Pistons.
Seahawks are like Cleveland, LeBron, Russell Wilson. Got a bunch of good pieces, but it's Russell Wilson. And then the Titans are like, damn, I couldn't find somebody fast enough for them. But more of the story is I had the first two, so I'm good.
The Pistons are like, the Titans are like the Jazz or the Nuggets.
I think we have to find a team that's like good offensively, but not
flashy.
I think the best one.
Houston with T-Mac and Yao Ming.
I think the best reference would be like the Nuggets now.
Nuggets?
Yeah, because they're not that great defense.
Yeah, young,
outside
exciting.
shot at competing for a title, but they don't have that superstar that's putting them well over the top.
I think my best analogy was Detroit and Steelers, though. Rugged, tough, defense. They're
not flashy.
You're not flashy.
But they'll come in and they'll punch you in the mouth.
And I really like the Steelers.
Proverbially punch you in the mouth.
Because I don't know if any team outside of the Chiefs can really beat the Steelers in the playoffs. Like if they were having the matchups right now, I think they can beat Tennessee. And we're gonna see it this weekend. We're gonna see what happens this weekend.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, that's gonna
Titans
be
played Seahawks or Steelers this week.
Steelers. It's gonna be a great game. I can't wait to see. But as of now, in hindsight, next week I might be saying, "Oh, I was wrong about it." But as of now, I feel like the only team that can beat the Steelers in the playoffs are the Chiefs. Because even everybody ruled out the Steelers this year. We were talking about the Ravens going 15-1.
I'll be the first to admit I've ruled out the
best
Steelers.
roster, best all
Actually,
this.
if you ask a few of my friends, I actually picked the Steelers to do some damage.
I just my
they just need a quarterback. That's all they needed.
That was my big question on the
needed a
Steelers was,
quarterback.
could Big Ben come back from a Tommy John surgery, which for him,
That's what they call it.
yeah, he got the baseball surgery. And, you know, you look at what he's been his whole career, he's been a gunslinging quarterback, and I just didn't know if he could recover from such an intensive surgery on his elbow, and he has done it. I give him all the credit in the world. And another thing that stuck out to me was he's never seemed to be the hardest worker. You know, there's been clips of him in practice messing around during drills and stuff like that. And, you know, it concerned me, was he going to be able to put in the effort to come back from such an injury? And I give him all the credit in the world because he's totally proved me wrong on that.
So, different question. Which team stays undefeated the longest?
I think the Seahawks would be the obvious pick.
I think it depends on the schedule.
One of the Titans and Steelers is going to be out this week.
Yep.
So
it's between
Steelers have a cakewalk after this.
It's going to be between the Titans and Seahawks or the Steelers and Seahawks.
Yeah. And I think the funniest thing out of any of this is that I don't think that any of the three of them
Who
are
do the
best
Seahawks
team.
face?
No, I did it because the Steelers played Titans, then Ravens, then Cowboys, then Bengals, then Jaguars, then Ravens again. So I don't know about them.
And the Seahawks, I'm pulling it up right now.
They face the Cardinals this weekend.
Yeah.
Cardinals, I think, are blowing out Dallas right now. And Titans got Steelers, Bengals, Bears, Colts. I don't think none of these teams go undefeated for very long.
Ooh.
I think the Seahawks probably have the best chance.
The Seahawks have Arizona, San Francisco, Buffalo, the Rams, then back to the Cardinals. That's a tough stretch too.
Yeah, it is.
None of them have an easy road. I think that the Steelers have the toughest road because I think that they play in the toughest division in football right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's going to hurt all three of those teams come playoff time if they're all three of them are playoff
That'd
teams
be
because
cool
they're
as
going to
hell,
be
though.
beating up on each other. The Ravens, the Steelers, and the Browns. And as
I think
much
the
as that's a
Ravens
good
and the
thing,
Steelers can easily go 2-0 against the Browns, though.
yeah, no doubt, because I think the
And
Browns.
that's 4 killing losses for the Browns.
But I also think that the Browns are. No, like I wouldn't bet against the
Yeah.
Browns either. It just depends on where they go from here on out. I think that the funniest thing, I'm going to say Seahawks, just because even though those are a couple tough games, I think that they should win every single one of them. But I think the funniest thing is that none of the three of them are the best team in the league.
You know,
I think it's
earlier,
the Chiefs.
Earlier in the show, we were talking about Brian Flores. I actually came up with the perfect example. I finally remembered. The expectations that he exceeded with the Dolphins last year is the same that Todd Bowles did when we were supposed to we were previewed to go 1-15 and we got 5 wins.
Yeah.
Todd Bowles wasn't a bad coach.
No,
He got a
wasn't.
lot of slack.
And
we
if
needed an offensive coordinator.
Oh, I would take Todd Bowles every day of the week, twice on Sunday over Adam Gase.
He should get another head coaching opportunity. He's doing a great job.
It was an example of you don't know what you have until it's gone. We didn't appreciate him because the situation that he was put in wasn't great. Because a bunch of the stuff that if you haven't listened, I would definitely recommend you go check out our Joe Douglas conversation. But if you think about what I was saying in our Joe Douglas conversation, Todd Bowles had to deal with that just as much as Joe Douglas is having to. He had to deal with John Idzik's drafts even more than Joe Douglas is having to, and he had to deal with Mike McCagna's drafts, which at the time weren't even busts looking back on them. They were busts that he had to deal with as guys that were just picked. You mentioned the politicking of the NFL. You pick a guy, Christian Hackenberg had to get a shot because they spent a second-round pick on him. He was put in a poor position, and I think he did a good job based on everything that was given to him. I think that he was a solid leader, and if you put him with the right offensive coordinator, I think he could be a really good head coach.
Just imagine if we had Todd Bowles and we brought in Le'Veon Mosley and all these guys that we brought in.
If Todd Bowles was our coach that season and we went 7-9 last season, we would have been a playoff team.
I think
we wouldn't
so
have
too.
lost to the Dolphins, and we wouldn't have lost to the Bengals, and I bet you we wouldn't have lost to the Bills week 1. And that's
I think so
11-5. Even with missing Sam Darnold for that 3-week stretch, that's 11-5. Granted, it was against the easiest schedule in football.
I think so too. Todd Bowles was great for the Jets because we weren't supposed to do anything. Even his first year, we went 10-6. So he's shown that with the talent, he could have did something with the team.
I'm happy for him succeeding in Tampa Bay, though, and I hope he gets another shot because he's a good
he's
dude.
with Bruce Arians again. He was with him in Arizona, back with Carson Palmer and them.
He's a great defensive mind.
Yeah.
He just didn't have that offense to put him over the top. Now
we're going to our last segment of the show, NFL Pick'em Week 7. You guys know how this goes already. It's going to cut to the chase. Giants versus Eagles. Who wins Thursday Night Football?
Eagles.
I'm going with the Eagles.
I don't want to do this.
The Giants actually have a really great defense right now, numbers wise.
I don't want to do this, but something is telling me Giants.
That's fair. When we do win, I want you to come here and I want you to apologize to me.
But I will say the Eagles showed a lot of life at the end of that Baltimore game. So
We almost won that shit.
Panthers versus Saints.
Saints.
Do you guys know if Mike Thomas is coming back?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
He is coming back,
He
or he's
wasn't.
not?
He wasn't out this past week because of the injury. He was out because the in-house suspension. So
Okay.
I would imagine he's playing.
I have the Saints then. Bills versus Jets.
Bills by 1 million.
Bills.
Got the Bills.
Hammer the money line.
Browns versus Bengals.
Browns.
Browns.
I got the Browns. Cowboys versus Washington.
Cowboys.
I have Washington.
I'm gonna say the Cowboys, but I'm going to feel worse about that pick when they lose to the Cardinals tonight.
Packers versus Texans.
Packers.
I got the Packers too. Lions versus Falcons.
Lions.
I got the Falcons. Steelers versus Titans.
I'm gonna ride with the Steelers.
I'm taking the Steelers too.
I'll take the Titans. I'll be that guy. I'm not letting the Titans not get a pick in this pick'em. I'll take the Titans.
Seahawks versus Cardinals.
Seahawks.
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 I have the Cardinals. Chiefs versus Broncos.
Chiefs.
Chiefs.
Got the Chiefs. Jaguars versus Chargers.
Chargers.
Chargers. 49ers versus Patriots.
Niners. I think they're on a roll. I'm gonna take the Niners.
I got the Niners too.
I'm gonna go Patriots. In New England, I don't know, fans or no fans, I feel like Foxborough is always just a tough place to play.
Buccaneers versus Raiders.
Bucks.
Oh, Bucks.
I know you.
I got the Bucks too. Bears versus Rams.
I'm taking the Bears. I'm not too sold on the Rams. So
I'm also going to take the Bears. The Rams are 2-0, or they've lost like every game outside of the NFC East.
I'm taking
Just
the Rams.
bad.
Literally.
I don't think they lose 2 games in a row. The Rams do. I don't think they do.
I'm not sold on the Rams.
Me either. Gotta show me.
I
Gotta
don't
show
know.
me.
I think they win this game.
They look really good at times, but they look really bad when they don't look good.
They got embarrassed.
I think they didn't run the ball enough yesterday.
That's it, right?
As a topics?
That's all the games.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I thought you said topics. So before this episode ends, we're going to give a Patreon shout out to JL Conrado for pledging $15. So each Patreon is going to get a shout out. So if you guys want a shout out on the show, got to pledge. So this does it for this episode of the Pick Aside podcast. As always, our Instagram is at Pick Aside. Our YouTube is Pick Aside as well. And you can subscribe to our Patreon and pledge anything over $3 a month. Patreon.com/Pick Aside podcast. Thank you guys for listening and see you next time.